So, one important question that we haven't answered, and as what we were discussing, how do advertisers know what consumers actually want? How do they decide which message will be effective? How do they identify the right target audience? And finally, after spending millions of rupees on advertising, how do we know whether the campaign actually worked? The answer lies with another important institution in advertising management, that is the research agency. Research agencies are often described as the intelligence backbone of advertising. Think of it like a intelligence agency of any country, the CIA or the MI6 or the CBI or the RAW or the FBI. Think of it like that. They do not create advertisements, nor do they purchase media space. Instead, they generate reliable information that helps advertisers make informed decisions. So they provide key information on the markets, on the consumer behavior, competitive intelligence, and this helps us make informed decisions. In today's business environment, advertising decisions cannot be based on assumptions or intuition alone. Every major campaign is supported by extensive market research. Research agencies collect, analyze, and interpret data about consumers, competitors, and markets. This information enables advertisers to reduce uncertainty and make better strategic decisions. Think of a doctor treating a patient. Before prescribing medicines, the doctors first conduct certain tests, perhaps a complete blood count test, or he may want to have a RFT or a liver function test or a renal function test or a thyroid test, or even he may recommend a panel test, ECG, echo, or it could be a TMT test, and depending on the issue that may be there. So ultimately, before prescribing any medicine or a procedure, he has to diagnose the problem. And a better diagnosis is when he's supported by the results of these tests. Therefore, before launching a campaign, an advertising campaign, companies conduct research to understand the market. This is the reason why research is often called the foundation of effective advertising management. Let us understand the three stages which are shown on the slide. The pre campaign research. So, the first stage is the pre campaign research. The research is conducted before any advertisement is created. Its objective is to understand the market and the consumer. Research agencies attempt to answer several important questions. And these questions could be like, who are our customers? What problems do they face? What motivates them to purchase? What benefits are they looking for? How do they perceive our competitors? What media do they consume? What language and communication style appeals to them? To answer these questions, researchers use several techniques such as consumer surveys, focus group discussions, in depth interviews, observations, ethnographic studies, online behavior analysis, social media listening. So, one of the most important outcomes of pre campaign research is market segmentation. Rather than treating all consumers alike, research agencies divide the market into meaningful groups based on demographics, geography, lifestyle, income, personality, and buying behavior, and many other factors. For example, the advertising strategy for a premium electric SUV from a company like BYD or Mahindra will be very different from that of an affordable commuter motorcycle because the target consumers have different needs and aspirations. Research also helps identify consumer insights, key consumer insights. And these key consumer insights actually help us make brilliant ads which solve our marketing problem or advertising problems. So, an insight is deeper than a simple fact. For example, knowing what mothers buy baby food is a fact. I mean, we know that mothers buy baby food, that's a fact. Understanding that mothers choose brands primarily because they trust them is an insight. So if somebody buys Cerelac or a Similac, it is because of an insight. Why does he or she or a mother buys that particular brand? Why does somebody buy Raymond's? Buying Raymond's is a fact. But why does somebody buy Raymond? The reasons is an insight. Therefore, great advertising campaigns are built on powerful consumer insights. Next, we come to the during campaign research, as is mentioned on the slide. Once the campaign has been launched, the work of the research agency does not stop. Instead, they begin monitoring the campaign's performance. This stage is known as during campaign research. Today, digital advertising provides enormous amounts of real time data. Research agencies continuously measure key performance indicators such as advertisement research, impressions, click through rate, engagement, video completion rate, website traffic, social media interactions, consumer sentiment, and brand mentions. So, if consumers are responding positively, the campaign continues as planned. However, if data indicates poor engagement or negative reactions, advertisers can immediately modify their strategy. This ability to make real time adjustments is one of the biggest advantages of digital advertising compared with traditional media. Once again, as an example, we can suppose a company's social media advertisement receives millions of views but very few purchases. Research agencies may discover that consumers like the advertisement but do not understand the product benefits. So the ad is liked, but nobody understands what the product benefits are. So that's a insight. So the advertiser can revise the message without waiting until the campaign ends. This process is also or often called campaign optimization. The third stage is basically what we call as the post-campaign research. So after the campaign has been completed, researchers conduct post-campaign evaluation. The purpose is to determine whether the campaign achieves its objectives. Several questions are examined. Did consumers remember the advertisement? Did brand awareness increase? Did attitudes toward the brand improve? Did purchase intentions change? Did sales increase? Was the advertising budget utilized efficiently? Researchers use techniques such as brand recall studies, brand recognition studies, advertising effectiveness surveys, sales analysis, consumer satisfaction studies, return advertising spend, commonly called as ROAS, marketing return on investment or marketing ROI. This information that we gather becomes extremely valuable because it guides future campaigns. So, advertising is therefore a continuous learning process. Every campaign generates knowledge that improves the next campaign. The example shown on this slide illustrates this idea very well. Suppose a company launches a digital campaign for a new product. After analyzing social media comments and online reviews, researcher discovers let's assume that the researchers discover that consumers appreciate the product but find the advertising message confusing. And this finding is called as a messaging gap. The advertiser can immediately redesign the communication strategy, simplify the message, and launch a revised campaign. Without researching, the company might have continued wasting advertising expenditure on an ineffective message. Let us briefly discuss some well known research agencies operating globally and in India. Companies such as Nielsen, Kantar, Ipsos, YouGov, and GfK provide advertising research, television audience measurement, consumer behavior analysis, and brand tracking services. In India, these organizations help advertisers understand media consumption patterns, television ratings, digital engagement, and changing consumer preferences. Finally, we have to remember an important principle. Advertising management is both an art and a science. Creativity represents the artistic side. Research represents the scientific side. Neither can succeed without the other. An ad may be visually stunning, but if research shows that consumers do not understand it, then the campaign has failed. Similarly, research without creative execution will never influence consumer behavior. Therefore, successful advertising always combines creative information and creative imagination with research based evidence. That is why research agencies occupy such a crucial position in the advertising ecosystem. Therefore, once research tells us who the audience is and the creative team develops the message, another critical question arises: where should the advertisement appear? Should it be shown on television, YouTube, Instagram, newspapers, radio, or outdoor, perhaps on billboards, which we call as out of home? If we combine both outdoor and billboards, it becomes out of home. So, making these decisions is the responsibility of the next institution in advertising management, which is called as the media agency. So, after the advertiser has defined the objectives, the research agency has generated the consumer insights, and the creative team has developed an attractive ad. There's still one crucial question that remains: where should the advertisement be shown? So, advertisement has value only if it reaches the right audience at the right time and through the right medium. This responsibility belongs to the media agencies. A media agency is a specialized organization that plans, purchases, and manages advertising space and time across different media platforms. Their primary objective is to maximize the effectiveness of the advertising budget by ensuring that advertisements reach the intended audience as efficiently as possible. So we have to think of media agencies as the bridge between brands and the consumers. The creative agency decides what message should be communicated, while the media decides when, where, and how often the message should appear. That is the reach, frequency, and the coverage. And these decisions are based on research, audience behavior, and cost effectiveness rather than intuition. So, the first responsibility shown on the slide is media planning. Media planning is the process of selecting the most appropriate communication channels for an advertising campaign. A media planner answers several important questions, such as which media should be used, what should the focus be on? Should it be on television, newspapers, radio, magazines, YouTube, Instagram, OTT, or outdoor advertising? Who is the target audience? When are they most likely to consume the media? How frequently should we how frequently should they see the advertisement, that is frequency? How much budget should be allocated to each medium? So the answers to these questions determine the overall media strategy. For example, imagine a company launching a new luxury apartment, and that's the project. The target audience consists of professionals aged between 35 and 55 years with high purchasing power. Would Instagram Reels alone be sufficient? Probably not. The media planner may recommend business newspapers, premium magazines, LinkedIn advertising, YouTube, Google search, digital news portals, and airport billboards because these platforms are more likely to reach affluent professionals. Let us take another example. Suppose the advertiser is launching an energy drink targeted at college students. The media mix here will be completely different from the luxury apartment. Instead of newspapers, the planner may recommend Instagram, Snapchat, YouTube Shorts, influencer collaborations, gaming platforms, and music streaming services because these media are the most likely frequented and consumed by young consumers. So, this illustrates an important principle. Different target audience requires different media strategies. There is no universally best media or the best advertising medium. The second responsibility, as we can see on the slide, is media buying. Once the media plan has been approved, the media buying team negotiates with media owners to purchase advertising space or advertising time. Media buying involves negotiations with television channels, newspapers, magazines, radio stations, outdoor advertising companies, digital platforms, and online publishers. The objective here is to obtain maximum exposure at the lowest possible cost. When we say exposure, we mean the exposure for the brand that is most uh, or a high visibility. Large media agencies often receive significant discounts because they purchase advertising inventory on behalf of multiple clients. So, as an example, if an agency purchases hundreds of television advertising slots every month, it has a stronger bargaining power than an individual advertiser. That's one of the principles of management. And we have studied this. This is Michael Porter's five forces model. Today, media buying has evolved significantly because of digital technology. Instead of purchasing advertising space manually, many advertisements are purchased automatically using programmatic advertising. What is programmatic advertising? It is basically something which uses artificial intelligence and real time bidding to purchase digital advertising space within milliseconds. When you visit a website, advertisers compete in real time to display ads that match your interest. This automated process makes advertising more efficient and highly targeted. And moving on, the third responsibility mentioned on the slide is performance optimization. In traditional advertising, once an advertisement appeared in a television or newspaper, there was very little opportunity to make changes or amends. Digital advertising has changed this completely. Today, media agencies continuously monitor campaign performance. They analyze data such as reach, impressions, frequency, click through rate, cost per click, which is commonly called as the CPC, cost per thousand impressions, which is called as CPM, conversion rate, customer acquisition cost, return on advertising spend. So, if one platform performs exceptionally well, the agency can increase the advertising budget for that particular platform. Similarly, if another platform is underperforming, the budget can immediately be reduced or shifted elsewhere. And this process is called as media optimization. So, in other words, advertising budgets are no longer fixed throughout the campaign. They are dynamic and continuously adjusted based on performance data. Let us understand two important concepts frequently discussed in media planning. The first is reach, which we'll discuss in detail when we move to the media planning part. But at this point of time, let us discuss these terms very briefly. Reach refers to the number of different individuals exposed to an advertisement at least once. And the second important element is the frequency. Frequency refers to the number of times the same person sees the advertisement. So, a campaign with high reach but low frequency creates awareness. A campaign with moderate reach and high frequency strengthens memory and persuasion. Media planners attempt to find optimal balance between these two variables. For television advertising, planners often use a measure called as the gross rating points or the GRPs. Sometimes a modified form that is used is called as the TRP. So GRP estimates the total exposure generated by a television campaign. In digital advertising, planners use metrics such as impressions, engagement rate, conversions, and return on advertising spend. All these measures help evaluate whether the media strategy is effective. Let us consider a practical example. Suppose Coca Cola launches a summer campaign. The media agency may initiate or it may initially allocate its advertising budget across television, YouTube, Instagram, and outdoor billboards. After 2 weeks, performance reports indicate that Instagram and YouTube are generating significantly higher engagement among the young consumers, while television is producing comparatively lower engagement. Instead of continuing with the original budget allocation, the media agency immediately relocates more budget to digital platforms. This flexibility actually improves the campaign efficiency and increases return on investment. And this is an important lesson. And this demonstrates why media agencies have become increasingly important in the digital era. They are no longer simply purchasing advertising space. They are continuously analyzing consumer behavior, monitoring campaign performance, and making data driven decisions that maximize advertising effectiveness. So, to conclude this slide, we have to remember these three responsibilities. Media planning answers the question, where should we advertise? Media buying answers the question, how do we purchase advertising space effectively? And performance optimization answers the question, how can we improve campaign performance while it is still running? Therefore, media agencies ensure that every advertising rupee is invested wisely and reaches audience which are most likely to respond. Without effective media planning, even the most creative advertisement may simply fail because it reaches the wrong audience or appears at the wrong time. So far, we have discussed advertisers, agencies, researchers, and media planners. However, none of these organizations can function independently. They rely on a network of highly specialized experts who provide technical support, production facilities, and execution capabilities. These organizations are known as specialized suppliers and they form the invisible backbone of the advertising agency. So, these specialized suppliers are basically less known warriors. They do not generally get a mention in the textbooks, but today we'll be discussing them as well. So, we have discussed advertisers, agencies, researchers, and media planners, but let's talk of the specialized suppliers. A single advertising campaign may involve professional photographers, film directors, music composers, voiceover artists, animation studios, software companies, printing presses, visual effect experts, website developers, and digital technology providers. These organizations are collectively known as specialized suppliers. The reason they are called enablers is because they make it possible for advertising agencies to execute campaigns at the highest professional standards. Advertising agencies are or I should say experts in strategy and creativity, but they cannot own every type of equipment or employ specialists in every technical field. Therefore, they collaborate with external organizations that possess specialized knowledge and advanced infrastructure. Let us now discuss four categories which have been mentioned on the slide. First is the print and production. The first category is the print and production suppliers. Although digital advertising has grown rapidly, print advertising continues to play an important role in newspapers, magazines, brochures, catalog, point of purchase displays, retail branding, and outdoor advertising. Printing companies convert creative designs into physical advertising materials. They produce newspaper ads, magazine ads, posters, banners, standees, packaging material, brochures, leaflets, and catalogs. For outdoor campaigns, specialized production companies manufacture large format hoardings, transit advertisements, bus shelters, and airport displays. Just imagine Coca Cola launching a national campaign. The agency may design one billboard, but thousands of identical copies must be printed and installed across hundreds of cities. Without specialized printing and fabrication companies, such large scale campaigns would be impossible. Therefore, these specialized suppliers ensure quality, consistency, and timely execution. The second point on the slide, video and post production. The second category, as we see, is video and post production. And today's television commercials and digital advertisements involve sophisticated filmmaking techniques. Production houses provide professional directors, cinematographers, lighting specialists, drone operators, and camera crews. The camera crews. Once filming is completed, the ad enters post production. Post production includes video editing, color correction, visual effects or VFX, motion graphics, animations, sound synchronization, background music, special effects. So many advertisements today contain computer generated imagery, but consumers cannot distinguish from real footage. For example, automobile ads frequently use CGI to create spectacular driving sequences that otherwise would be dangerous or impossible to film. Similarly, animated mascots used by brands such as Amul or Vodafone require professional animation studios. Therefore, to summarize, post production transforms raw footage into polished commercial content suitable for television and digital platforms. The third point that is listed here is the technology and the software providers. Advertisers and advertising, or I should let me put it this way, advertising has become increasingly technology driven. Modern campaigns rely heavily on digital platforms and artificial intelligence. Technology companies provide the software that enables advertisers to plan, execute, and monitor and evaluate campaigns. These technologies could be ad servers, marketing automation platforms, customer relationship management systems, web analytics software, social media management platforms, artificial intelligence dashboards, audience targeting software. For example, Google Ads allow advertisers to display advertisement based on user search behavior. Meta Ads Manager enables highly targeted advertising on Facebook and Instagram. Google Analytics measures website traffic and user behavior. Similarly, AI powered tools can now optimize advertisements automatically by identifying which headlines, images, or video platforms perform better. These technologies have transformed advertising from intuition based decision making to data driven management. So, as future managers, you should appreciate that advertising today is as much about technology as it is about creativity. The fourth point is audio and talent suppliers. So, there's another category. Every memorable advertisement requires much more than visuals. It also requires sound, music, and human performance. Specialized suppliers provide voiceover artists, models, professional actors, music composers, sound engineers, recording studios, language translators, celebrity management agencies. Think about the famous advertising voices that we have in India. This voice itself becomes associated with the brand. Similarly, background music creates emotional impact. Research shows that consumers often remember the music from an advertisement even when they forget the visual details. Like example, the Idea jingle or the Airtel jingle or the Nirma jingle. Celebrity endorsement also requires specialized talent management agencies. When brands appoint celebrities such as Shah Rukh Khan, Deepika Padukone, or Virat Kohli as brand ambassadors, specialized agencies negotiate contracts, schedules, legal agreements, and promotional activities. Thus, talent suppliers ensure that advertisements are emotionally engaging and professionally executed. Emerging specialized suppliers, the today advertising ecosystem continues to evolve. Today, increasingly, Today agencies increasingly collaborate with influencer marketing agencies. These are the emerging specialized suppliers. Influencer marketing agencies, artificial intelligence content studios, virtual reality production companies, augmented reality developers, drone cinematography, drone cinematography companies, podcast production studios, social media content creators, digital asset management companies, just to name a few. These organizations do not or did not exist 20 years ago. They were not there. Nobody had even heard of them. But today they play a critical role in integrated marketing communication. And this demonstrates that advertising is constantly adapting to technological innovation. Let us understand this with the help of a practical example. Suppose Samsung wants to launch its latest smartphone. The company, that is Samsung, develops the marketing strategy. The advertising agency creates the campaign concept. The research agency studies consumer preferences and provides key consumer insights. The media agencies plans the television, YouTube, and social media advertising, and specialized suppliers begin their work. A production houses films the commercial. A VFX studio creates the special effects or the visual effects. A music composer develops the soundtrack. Professional photographers produce product photographs. A printing company produces the retail displays. Google and Meta deliver digital advertisements. A celebrity management agency coordinates appearance by the brand ambassador. And finally, logistic companies distribute promotional materials to retail stores across the country. Notice something very important. Although consumers only see advertisement, dozens of specialized organizations have collaborated behind the scenes. That is why advertising management is often described as a network industry rather than work of a single company. So we have discussed all these elements. However, in the real world, these organizations do not work independently, like I was saying. They operate as parts of one integrated system. That is why the title of the slide is From Brief to Air, How It All Connects. So we have to think of an advertising management as an orchestra. In an orchestra, there are violinists, pianists, drummers, and singers. Each musician is highly skilled. But if everyone plays independently, the result is noise rather than music. Similarly, in an advertising management, every institution has its own expertise, but success depends on coordination. So, this is in nutshell. What you need to keep in mind is that the advertising industry is not static. It has evolved continuously in response to technological innovations and changing consumer behavior and the emergence of new communication platforms. So, in the past, advertising was relatively simple. Brands communicated with consumers primarily through newspapers, television, radio. These were the main media. Communication was largely one way. The advertisers spoke and the consumers listened. Today, the situation is completely different. Consumers are no longer passive recipients of advertising. They actively come and share, review, criticize, and even create contents about brands. And this transformation has fundamentally changed the advertising industry. And that is why the slide is titled The Evolving Dynamics in the Digital Age. So, we have the new players in the advertising ecosystem. So, that is the first change. Traditional advertising ecosystem consisted mainly of advertisers, advertising agency, research agencies, and media agencies. Today, many new organizations have entered this ecosystem, which we already discussed previously also, like interactive agencies, digital market agencies, social media management firms, content creation studio, influencer marketing agencies, search engine marketing specialists, e-commerce advertising platforms, artificial intelligence platforms, media conglomerates. They did not even exist 20 years ago. Another important development is the rise of artificial intelligence today. AI assists advertisers in writing advertising copy, generating images, editing videos, analyzing consumer data, predicting campaign performance, and even personalizing advertisements for individual consumers. Therefore, AI has become an important participant in the advertising ecosystems. We have new business models. The second major change is the new business model and the agency compensation models, which we'll be discussing in detail at a later stage. Uh, and the last is basically the new challenges. While technology has created many opportunities, it has also introduced significant challenges. The first is the media fragmentation. The third is the second is the advertising clutter, and these are very significant things. And the third is, or the third challenge is maintaining brand consistency across multiple touch points. So, As we wind this session up, let us reflect on the most important lessons from the entire topic. Throughout the discussion that we have had, we have seen various institutions involved in advertising management. We began with the advertiser and we ended with the specialized suppliers. Advertising management is the power of collaboration. Many people believe that advertising is created by one talented designer or one creative writer. In reality, successful advertising is never the result of a single individual. It is the outcome of a teamwork involving experts from many different disciplines. We think about successful advertising campaign. Behind a 30-second television commercial or a 15-second Instagram reel, there may be hundreds of professionals working together. Brand managers define the objectives, researchers analyze consumer behavior, account managers coordinate the project, copywriters write the message, art directors coordinate the visuals or create the visuals, production team shoots and edits the commercial, media planners decide where it should appear, technology partners manage digital delivery, data analysts measure performance, and each professional contributes to the overall puzzle. Only when all these pieces fit together does an effective advertising campaign emerge. This is why advertising management is often described as an integrated communication system with a creative activity. And there are specific points such as seamless alignment. This is the first point on the slide is the seamless alignment. Alignment means that everyone involved in the campaign must work towards the same objective. Consider what would happen if different departments pursue different goals. Suppose the advertisers or the company wants to position a product as premium and luxurious. However, the creative team designs humorous ads that make the product appear inexpensive. At the same time, the media agency places on platforms that mainly reach budget conscious consumers. Even though every department may have worked hard, the campaign would fail because there was no alignment. Therefore, successful advertising requires every institution to ask the same question. And what is that question? How does my work contribute to the advertiser's objective? This is why communication between departments is extremely important. The advertiser, agency, research team, creative department, and media planners must continuously exchange information and coordinate their decisions. Alignment reduces confusion, improves efficiency, and creates a consistent brand image. The second point is deep integration. Earlier in the history of advertising, departments often worked independently. So the creative team focused only on ads. Researchers worked separately from the creative department. Today, the approach is not effective anymore. It's no longer effective. Modern advertising requires integration across all functions. They are all part of the bigger puzzle, which we sometimes refer to as the integrated marketing communication. And what happens when we have integrated marketing communication? Consistency builds trust. Consistency improves customer confidence. Let us take the case of Apple. Whether you visit an Apple store or watch an Apple product launch, browse the Apple website, or view an Apple ad, the same values are consistently communicated: simplicity, innovation, elegance, and premium quality. And this is not accidental. It is a result of deep integration among all institutions involved in advertising management. The third is rapid adoption. What do we mean by rapid adaptation? This is the most important lesson for modern advertising management. Markets change rapidly, consumers' preferences evolve, competitors introduce new products, social media trends change within hours, technology advances continuously. Advertising managers must therefore become agile. Imagine a company launches a social media campaign. Within 2 days, customer comment indicate that one advertisement is being misunderstood. Therefore, in the past, if we go back and just think of the past, we are talking of the earlier era. Correcting this kind of mistake would take weeks. But today, advertisers can modify digital advertisements immediately. Budgets can be shifted in real time, messages can be rewritten, creative content can be replaced, media strategies can be optimized in real time. And this flexibility has become one of the greatest advantages of digital advertising. Rapid adaptation is no longer optional, it has become a competitive necessity. Organizations that respond quickly to consumer feedback are more likely to build stronger brands than those that continue using ineffective campaigns. So, the final takeaway is that advertising is not just a message, it is a meticulously planned engine for growth. Advertising is much more than creating attractive commercials. Advertising is a management function. It requires planning, research, budgeting, creative thinking, technology, media strategy, project management, performance management, continuous improvement. Ultimately, advertising exists to support business objectives. It helps organizations increase sales. It builds brands, creates customer loyalty. It helps you enter new markets, introduce innovations, strengthen competitive advantage, and generate long-term profitability. So, in other words, advertising is not an isolated promotional activity. It's an investment in the future of an organization. So, before we conclude, let us quickly revise the institutions we have studied. The advertiser is the one which initiates the process by defining business objectives and brand strategy. The advertising agency transforms these objectives into creative communication. The creation and the production team converts ideas into professional advertisements. The research agency provides scientific insights and measures campaign effectiveness. The media agency ensures that advertisements reach the right audience through the right medium. The specialized suppliers provide technical expertise, production facilities, and execution support. Finally, all these institutions collaborate through an integrated process to achieve one common objective, that is, effective communication that creates value for both consumers and the organization. Therefore, as future managers, whether you work in marketing, branding, media planning, consulting, or entrepreneurship, remember one important lesson. Great advertising is rarely the result of one brilliant idea. It is the result of brilliant collaboration. Therefore, in the I would say that the essence of modern advertising management is that it is collaboration. Now, food for thought. Just think, suppose you're launching an electric scooter vehicle in India. Which institution among the advertising agency, research agency, media agency, and specialized suppliers would have the greatest influence on the campaign success? Think about it and justify your answers to yourselves. Thank you.